All right, well, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, share techniques, and success stories. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we've received a grant. The grant is built around building financial literacy, providing fundable businesses, fundable shelf corps, and providing access to capital. Many of you that join us are either current or prospective distribution partners. Some of you are just looking at using the grant for your own personal purpose or some combination of those two. Regardless, everyone is welcome. As we go through, just feel free to type into the Q&A. It's like a chat box of Zoom if you have questions, comments, concerns. We record the trainings, put most of them up on YouTube. So if you missed anything in the past, feel free to go back and view those. Today's agenda, I think, is going to be one that's going to get a lot of interest, and we're going to talk about jumbo deals. So if you're familiar with the mortgage space at all, you have smaller conventional financing for normal size houses, and then you have jumbo mortgages, bigger ones. So today we're not talking about mortgages, but we're talking about business funding, and we're going to talk about how to how to attract and how to handle larger deals. And we're going to define those as 1 million plus. Now, let's go ahead and expand this and put some notes. So when it comes to so let's go back and do a refresher. So we got two phases, right? So what you and I do, there's phase one, there's phase two. We've covered this before. Phase one is we need to have a fundable business to get business funding. Most people don't have that, and that's why you and I are helping so many people solve problems by getting them one of the free express shelf corps. And now they have the entity that's in good standing at the federal, at the state level. They have the commercial address, the business plan, the financials, the collateral. So we always have to have a fundable business before we can get business funding. The product or solution always starts with phase one, and it does not change based upon how much capital they want. So the point is, no matter if you're talking to a prospect that wants a little bit of funding or a lot of funding, phase one is phase one. It's no different. So that makes it easy for you. It's not like, oh, I need to follow some different protocol if they want a jumbo deal. No, it's the same. They need to have a fundable business. Most people don't have it. So you can provide them an express shelf corp so we can get funding off of that. So that's the first lesson. So let's go ahead and put some notes here. So, what are some lessons we're going to cover today? The first of which is size doesn't matter on phase one. Same agreement, same shelf corp documents. Now, pricing, some of you are very creative when it comes to pricing. So let's go back up here. So on phase one, we need so the grant covers the cost of the shelf corp. It used to be that people had to pay for the shelf corp and then they got reimbursed by the grant. As of June 1st, 24 days ago, that switched over, so the grant is covering it up front. It's an advance allocation rather than a reimbursement. There is a processing fee because we have to pay the legal team to get everything switched over. So it's $4.99 plus whatever you want to add. So some of you are just doing a pass through and just making money off the back end because, of course, you're making 5% of the client's capital raise. Some of you are adding 500 to the front end, all different answers. It's up to you how much you want to add to the processing fee, which is your upfront income. Hopefully, we're all clear on that. But I want to expand on that a little bit. So there's a couple of you that are only chasing jumbo deals. And that's up to you. I'm not suggesting that you should turn away small deals. That's up to you. But I wanted to share with you some of the success stories that we're seeing from some of you who are very aggressively attracting larger capital raises, which kind of makes sense, right? Because if it's the same amount of work for you to get a small deal as it is a large deal, but you make, of course, in a linear fashion, a lot more for a larger deal. Because let's break it down. So 5%, the minimum that we guarantee is 100,000 capital raise. So what would that make you? That would make you $5,000 to you. Not bad. And again, it's really passive income because while you're doing number one, we're doing everything with number two. But let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's say, no, I don't really want to do anything less than $1 million deal. What does that generate for you? 10 times that. So it kind of makes sense to go after larger deals, but you don't have to filter in that regard. So now let's get down and talk about what we've seen a couple of you do that's freaking amazing. And let me see who's on here. Uh, I think Varney is doing this. So when Varney is out talking to clients, because do you remember we had that discussion on blank check financing? We had a lesson on blank check financing a couple weeks ago. It's up on the YouTube channel. And what that meant is client picks the requested capital raise, and then we build the loan package, of course, legally and ethically to qualify for it. So that was the concept of blank check financing. Well, the point that I'm making here about Varney's approach is that he will ask them, hey, how much funding are you looking for? And he's kind of screening because he's a busy guy. He doesn't, frankly, want to deal with small capital raises. Not suggesting that you should do the same, but he's pretty influential in his circle. So what he does is he charges a 1% processing fee. So think about that for a moment. So let's say that he goes to a prospect and he asks, well, how much capital are you looking to raise? And the prospect says $1 million. And so what Varney says, if I have this right, and Mr. Barker, if I'm not stating it correctly, let me know. He'll say, okay, well, great. It's going to be a 10% performance fee on your $1 million capital raise. You're going to pay $1 million now. I'm sorry, not million. You're going to pay 1% now, and then the other 9% after the capital raise. So by him doing that, you can see what his methodology is. So he doesn't charge some flat amount for the front end. He's charging 1% of the $1 million. Who can tell me what 1% of $1 million is? It's $10,000, right? So it's up to you, but what you can do is kind of play off of it a little bit. If you see that the client is looking for a larger capital raise, you can actually alter what you're collecting on the front end as a percentage of that 1% down, and then the other 9% would be collected. And the reason I say that is we pay out 5%, but 10% is the performance fee. All right, so I see Joseph's asking a question, what's the largest capital raise? Well, as I mentioned, the minimum that we contractually promise to provide is 100,000, and that's really how the Shelf Corp comes. And I'll get to Mike's question in a second about the process. But with that being said, there's really not a max. I can tell you that right now, the largest capital raise that we're working on currently is $100 million. Now, when you hear that number, you might say, oh, that's bullshit, or that's just someone dreaming. This is a real client. He's actually a Harvard student. So he's a sophomore going into his junior year at Harvard. So this guy is smart and competent. He's got a very unique idea, and we're making progress. We're not to the end of the road, but I do think that he'll raise that 100 million, and so there is no cap. But again, it's not a game of Monopoly. It's not like it's too good to be true. We're going to have to build the loan package to support it. And so part of that loan package, well, let's get into that because that's the process. And I feel like that's what Mike was asking. So let's talk about the process for a jumbo deal. So we've already said that phase one is the same, right? So it doesn't matter if they want a little, doesn't matter if they want a lot. Phase one is phase one. You get them under contract to buy a shelf core. You determine what the processing fee is. Anything above the 499 is going into your pocket as profit. You can charge as a percent. You can charge a flat amount. You can not mark it up. But regardless, so if we're going to do a jumbo deal, phase one is the same. Now, phase two, which is what we do, it's not your responsibility, but of course, it's going to be different based upon the size of the deal. So, just as we covered on yesterday's training, and if you missed yesterday's training, you can go on our YouTube channel. We talked about the phase two, what do we call it? The essentially the onboarding form. And so with that, what we're doing is we're asking the client how much funding they want, what they're going to use it for, and so forth. So from an implementation perspective, phase one is phase one. No difference in the dollar amount of capital raise. Sometimes they've not even figured out what they want. Phase two, it does make a difference because we're the folks responsible for implementing. So we're going to find out from this how much do they want, and we're also going to find out what we call the uses of funds, because you'd have to be a bit unrealistic to think that we can just state some number and then just go ask the bank or the lender for that number. No, they're going to want a loan package. They want the documents to support it, and part of that is the use of funds. So what are we going to use the money for? Now, we need a uses of funds if it's a small capital raise or if it's a larger one. But, are we buying real estate? Are we buying equipment? Are we acquiring an existing business? Are we buying a franchise? Do we just want liquid funds like working capital? So the use of funds has to delineate the amount of capital that we're pursuing, whether it be a small amount or a large amount, and how we're going to use it. So that's where our team that has the background to be able to work with those variables. But the bottom line is size doesn't matter. So if you want to attract clients that are pursuing larger capital raises, you can simply ask them that as part of your fact finding, your prospecting process, or you can entirely ignore that because we're going to pick up on that. We're going to need to know that on the implementation side. So let's go through questions, comments, concerns that any of you have about doing jumbo deals. All right. Gilbert's asking about timelines. So let's go ahead and put that in here. And people will often ask you, well, how long is it going to take to get funded? So remember, the Shelf Corp comes pre-built for 100,000 capital raise. So that's what the business plan states. That's what the uses of funds states. That's what the financial projections incorporate. So that's the baseline. So that's going to be the fastest, the easiest, because we don't need to make any changes. But alternatively, if the client wants to change the capital raise amount, we will need to edit the documents. It's not a problem. So it's not like we're complaining or, oh, that's, we don't want to do that. It's fine. But if they want anything above the 100,000, it'll obviously affect the timeline, because instead of it just rolling forward on the pre-built 100,000, we're going to need to go change the business plan, the use of funds, the financials. So again, it's not a problem. We're good at it. It's not a problem. But yes, it will obviously change the timeline. It's like if you went to a car dealership and you saw the car on the lot and said, "That's the car I want. Can I buy it today and can I drive it home today?" Odds are yes. But if you said, "Well, but I want the windows tinted and I want to upgrade the tires," I mean, if you start making changes, it's okay. You can customize things, but yes, it's going to affect the timeline. The problem is we're going to need to work with the client to figure out what changes they're wanting to make to be able to give you a timeline. So, for example, let's say they want to buy real estate with their capital raise. That's fine. Well, do we already have a real estate property identified? Yes or no? Yes. Great. All right. Have we already made an offer on that real estate that's been accepted? Yes or no? Is the seller doing any financing? Yes or so you can see that when you inject moving parts, it's going to impact the timeline. But again, people that are looking for large capital raises, they're not novices. They're not expecting that they're going to get $100 million in 3 days. You know, that they understand that we're going to have to build a loan package and then go to funding. But the timeline is simple for the pre-built 100,000, and it's not that it's complicated, but it's more complicated. And so we'll have to work with the client to determine how much they want and what they're going to use it for to even come up with a timeline for a jumbo deal. Hopefully that made sense. All right, so let's look at some of your questions, comments, concerns. Harley says to better qualify for the jumbo deals, you need 3 statements. No, we don't need any bank statements, because a lot of you have come from a background that you think, well, businesses have to have 3 to 6 months bank statements. They have to be open at least 2 years and have tax returns. But a lot of what we do is SBA 7A loans. And I think, you know, Chuck, Mark, and I, the 3 principals here that formed our nonprofit, we all used to work at the SBA. So the truth is, SBA 7, and we can do other things in SBA loans, but the SBA 7A does not require any prior financials. So that's not a truthful observation. I think what happens is a lot of you will hear people say things, or maybe what they tell you is true in a specific instance, and then sometimes some of you will extrapolate that to be the case always. But no, we don't need prior bank statements. A business can be 1 day old and we can go get an SBA loan. But again, we're not restricted to SBA, but that's a very popular approach. All right, thank you for that, Harley. John asks, can the capital raise be distributed in phases? Yeah. So that's where the nuances come in, John, that we're going to put together the intake form or the onboarding form. We're going to look at what the client wants and needs. Now, I will say this. If what we ask the client on this intake form is, how much are you looking for now? Because it may be that they predict a year from now they'll need more, but we really don't need to be borrowing for a year from now. We need to focus on what we need now. So with that being said, we want to keep it simple for clients. It's not like, well, how much money will you ever need for this business? A lot of times we don't know. So we're going to do it in tranches. What do they need right now? I need $1 million right now. Okay, so we're going to build the loan package out for $1 million right now. And I said, well, I'm going to need another million in 2 years if all goes well. Well, that's fine. We'll worry about that a little later. We're working on this tranche right now. Because Right. When we're talking about debt, it's money that has to be paid back. And you don't want these clients to borrow more money than what they can afford to pay back or to have them incur unnecessary expenses. All right. Kenny mentioned, and Kenny, remind us, how many deals did you close yesterday? I think it was 4 or 6. Forgive me, Kenny, but if you don't mind responding, we can share your success with the group. All right. Next, it looks like Doug's got an important point. So, if you're working with a prospective client or a client and they have different, and we're going to go down to our lesson section. Let me type it, then we'll discuss it. Each project should be a separate capital raise. So let's say you have a client or a prospective client and they want to do 2 things. They want to buy an apartment complex and they want to start a laundromat. Well, those are 2 different projects. The term we're going to use is project. Those really should be separated and put into 2 different entities. Why? Because maybe the laundromat fails and they don't want to have the apartment complex under the same corporate entity. Or maybe the laundromat goes crazy good and they want to sell it. They want to be able to easily sell the laundromat. So you want to keep each capital raise separate shelf corp for each. Number one, it keeps from confusing the lenders, but also it's best for the client. So yeah, they may have, you're going to find that some clients want 2 or 3 new shelf corps because they have multiple projects they want to do, and they could start all 3 at one time, or they could do one now and do others later. But we're going to vet through that because we'll find that out, right? When you bring us a client and we go through the intake, the onboarding form, and we start asking, and if we see disconnected use of funds, like I want to buy an apartment complex and start a laundromat, no, 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 unless the laundromat's on the apartment complex. But so just keep that in mind. We're going to kind of force the client to prioritize. Okay, what do you want to work on first? Now, if they want to come back to you and get a second shelf corp and do both concurrently, that's fine. But we want to have each project as a separate capital raise. All right, Jay asks, can the client purchase a shelf corp under an entity? Yes, yeah. So with a shelf corp, the owner can be a person or the owner can be another business entity. So that is perfectly fine. All right. Harley says he's in for a jumbo deal. Okay, yeah. So for anyone that's wanting to participate, you come to 509pacific.org, which is shown in the background. Our information's down at the bottom. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. To participate in a capital raise, you go right here. Now, if you came to us from one of the resellers, you would go to the reseller and sign up. If you're coming direct, it's right here. You'd click on this, and actually it'll open a new tab and it'll allow you to participate. And again, the grant pays for the shelf corp. All you're paying for is a processing fee, so that's there. Or if you're looking to become a distribution partner, you can become a distribution partner also on 509pacific.org. It's a little bit lower. It's a grant coordinator. We call grant coordinator, reseller, all the same. Same as the opportunity fund. Those are synonymous terms. There's no cost to be a grant coordinator, reseller, no contract you even have to sign. You just come over here, fill out the little form, let us know you're interested. We send you the implementation packet and you're open for business. So, but yes, Harley, we look forward to working with you. But who else has questions on jumbo deals? My goal in this was to clarify it's simple for you. I mean, you can play off of the term blank check financing. Hey, client, if you had a blank check, you can write in any amount you want. How much funding would you want? And they tell you that answer. That's fine. And then if they want a larger deal, we call it a jumbo deal. But from your perspective, you get them under contract, right? You get them under contract and collect the processing fee, whatever you want to charge from them, We handle the rest, and then you're paid off the rest. Yeah, so fix and flip. Sometimes people will bombard you with asking, well, does it work for this? Does it work for that? Yeah, so for any legal purpose, what you don't want to do is get so bogged down with prospects. They'll want to tell you their life story and they'll spend lots and lots of time. It doesn't matter, right? Either they want funding or they don't. And if they want funding to start or grow a business, they either have a fundable business already or they don't. If they already have a fundable business, great, we can go right to phase two. That's rare, but that happens. If they don't have a fundable business, then they need to buy an Express Shelf Corp from you, which of course is free with the grant. They're just paying the processing fee, which you determine what it is. And then we were showing that there's some more innovative ways to set what you want to charge as a processing fee. You could do a set amount or you could do a percent of the capital raise. And people kind of get excited about that, right? So I'm looking for $1 million. I'm going to pay 10% of the capital raised, 1% of that down, the other 9% after funding. That sells pretty well. Now, of course, if that's the case, what happens if they want $1 million capital raise and they don't have $10,000 to pay you? Because if they pay you 10,000, our processing fee, remember, stays the same. So you're netting your net profit is 9,500 on that deal. Plus, you're going to make another 50,000 on the back end. I mean, that's big money. But you're going to need to be a better closer if you're going to charge a greater amount. And then, of course, the client has to be credible. But truthfully, can you imagine someone that wants $1 million and they don't even have 10,000 of liquidity? Sounds a little sketchy. But regardless, you can choose how you want to charge for the processing fee. And some of you, I know, you're picking it up for the clients. You're paying yourself for their processing fee and then either adding it to the back end or even taking a stake in ownership where you become a minority owner of the business. All right, Franz brings up a good point, and his point is on, and we'll even separate it out. It's kind of a best practice. So, best practice according to Franz. And so the point is, if you are going to increase the processing fee for the transfer of the Express Shelf Corp, consider adding to Exhibit, and I'll show you this, Exhibit E, to create more value. So Franz's point is, I mean, what if you went and sold someone a Shelf Corp and they paid you 10,000, 1% of $1 million, and then they came and joined us for the Zoom tomorrow and said, "Oh shit, you could have got that for $499." How do you protect your proposition by charging more? Do like Franz does. So let's go back over to the agreement. So if we went here and we click here, it'll pop this up. So the agreement. So we provide you editable versions of this as a Shelf Corp, or we can build out an e-contract package for you. But regardless, we like to start with the flyer that describes the proposition in a colorful manner. Then we have the comparison sheet that helps them compare our proposition with others. But if we go all the way to the bottom of the packet, it's Exhibit E, and that's what I was referencing. So let's pull that back up. Exhibit E. So what many of you are doing is you're going to Exhibit E and adding number 6. Well, what would be on number 6? It's up to you, but I'll give you some examples. And Franz, tell me if I have it wrong, but some of you are providing business coaching or business consulting or business mentoring services. Some of you, and I know I'm doing number 6 again, these are alternatives. Some of you are offering to sit on their board of directors. Some of you are accountants, so some of you are doing free tax preparation. Some of you are attorneys and doing free legal consultations. So the point is, I misspelled that, consultations. You can add number 6 to Exhibit E, something that you're bringing to the table above and beyond what we're providing. And by doing that, that then justifies the difference in the baseline cost and whatever you're charging. You don't have to do that, but you can offer additional services, and that's very popular. So that way, if they came back and said, "Hey, you charged me 1,000, I could have got this for 500. What's the deal?" You'd say, "Well, sure. Did you notice that I'm providing additional coaching and consulting services that has a value of X?" And so that provides an ability for you to justify a higher price if you want. All right. Doug's asking, we're going to wrap it up here soon, about payment. So when you're out marketing the Express Shelf Corps as a reseller, as a grant coordinator, which means the same, you can charge whatever amount you want, which wasn't Doug's question, and you can collect it however you want. So some of you are having clients pay you by Zelle or Venmo, Apple Pay, PayPal, credit card, cash, checks, Bitcoin. I mean, it's completely up to you. You're the CEO of your business. As a reseller, you're running your business and you can have clients pay you however you want. They pay you, and then you're going to send us our portion. So anything above the $499.99 processing fee is your profit. So you can never come back and say, "Oh, I can't make enough money." You control that. It's literally up to you. All right, one final comment, and then we'll go. When we think about the sales process of a shelf corp, there's a few elements, right? So there's going to have to be leads. So we'll call it lead development. And you could buy leads, you could organically generate leads, you could get leads from referrals. That's up to you. But you're going to have leads. Any business needs leads. You could be a doctor's office and you still need leads, right? You could be an accountant, you still need leads. If you're a reseller, every business needs leads. So you've got to start with leads. Then we need to decide, how are we going to educate the prospect? How are you going to explain to them how you can help them solve their problem, right? Because it's all about solving their problem. And then thirdly, and this is a gross simplification, then there's a close. So then you got to close the deal that they need to sign and they need to pay you. What I'm witnessing is that some of you are good. Let's take Michael. And Michael, are you on this morning? Yeah, Michael's on. Michael's really, I talked to him this morning. He's really good at generating leads. He's developed, if I understand, he's generated like 7 leads in the past couple of days, but he's not really as strong on closing. And then we have Jeff. Jeff, are you on still? Yep, Jeff's on. Jeff is one of the best closers I've ever seen, but frankly, he's not very good at developing leads. So what you may want to consider is building a sales team, right? So if you want to outsource it all, you could outsource it. You can go to Fiverr or Upwork or Indeed, and you can have people do all of this for you. So all you do is just manage the sales organization. So that's an option. But if you're good, like Michael is, at generating leads, you may want to work with someone else to close the deals, like Jeff. Or Jeff, you're good at closing deals, one of the best I've ever seen, but you're kind of shitty at developing leads. So keep in mind, there are really 3 elements of the sales process, and you can outsource 1, 2, or all 3 of those components. You don't have to do it at all, or you don't have to do it all yourself. So if you need some help, And that's what I was going to introduce. I was going to introduce Jeff to Michael and Michael to Jeff, because it seems like a business marriage made true. Um, Michael has the leads. Jeff is a closing machine. So if you need help, let us know on the tech support line. Let us know what you're good at and let us know what you need help with. And so if you need someone to generate leads for you, I bet we can find someone to match up with you. If you need someone to close your leads, let us know. And I bet we can find someone to match you up with. If you're not good at any of those, then you really need to build a team from scratch. But regardless, resell resources and contact information. The support line's the best way to reach us, 903-347-8042. Email, you can schedule calls with us. 509 is the resource site, 509 Pacific, to either participate or to be a distribution partner. YouTube for prior trainings. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.